Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. I'd like to welcome you out to the TestOut's How to Spark Interest in Your Students for IT and Computer Science Pathways webinar. I'll introduce myself. My name is Travis Wild. I'm an account executive manager here. I work mainly with high school accounts here, and I'm going to be joined here with Paul Miller. He's a course designer here at TestOut. He'll be talking a little bit further in our session about our new TestOut IT Fundamentals Pro course. We're excited about that coming out in this fall. First of all, we'll just walk through a little bit here how we're going to have. First, I'm going to talk a little bit about student interest, how to get your students excited. We talked about the title of the webinar, Spark Interest. So what we want to do is make sure students have a good understanding of what kind of opportunities are out there for them, how to engage students more in the classroom. When I talk to schools every day, engagement is the key to their success in learning, in their continuing their efforts to continue down their educational pathways. I will turn some time over to Paul Miller. He'll be discussing TestOut's new IT Fundamentals Pro course and discussing a little bit of the methodology, what you'll see there with TestOut's IT Fundamentals course, and kind of where that fits into what we're trying to do. Feel free to go ahead and ask any questions as we go through the webinar. There will be an opportunity. There's a dialog box where you can ask questions. For the most part, we're going to get to those at the end. If there are some that need to be addressed during the session, we have our product manager, Adam Keys, online as well, and he'll be answering questions as we go through this particular session. But please feel free to give us feedback, ask any questions that you may have, and I promise if we're not answering them directly from Adam as we go through the session, we will get to them towards the end here. And then after we're finished, you will be emailed out a survey. If you just take a few minutes, we ask a few questions just to try to understand your engagement, where you're at with this information that's going to be presented to us today. All right, I'm going to start off with a poll question. We've got a couple poll questions to help keep you here engaged. First of all, what's the goals for your course? If you've created creating an IT fundamentals course, what are some of the what are the goals for your course? What do you see as as kind of the key to what you're trying to accomplish with your students and success? We'll give you a few seconds here. This will also allow us to get any late arrivers to come into the session as well. Okay, and we're seeing a lot of certification and also just student knowledge. And that's exactly what we're seeing as we talk to schools. This course is really going to fit into just general knowledge, what every person really needs to know as they go into any industry. And then also what we're seeing is a big push from state to state in certifications. And so there you can see some of our responses there. Let's see, I've got a couple more that I'm going to ask. As we talk about certifications and kind of where you're at, when considering IT fundamentals course and content, when would your school look at adopting this? One thing we want to make sure you're aware of is CompTIA recently updated their objectives for the CompTIA IT fundamentals exam objectives. We go from the FC051 iteration to the FC061. And so we have some new concepts being presented here for the first time from CompTIA as far as programming aspects and database. So if you wouldn't mind, just give us some kind of understanding when you would try to be looking at updating this course or teaching this course. Well, let's jump into our topics today. As I mentioned, my name is Travis Wild. I'm an account executive here. I mainly work with East Coast schools, and so a large focus is on computer science growth and information technology growth. And what we're seeing is a trend. It doesn't matter what state you're in, what region you're in. This is being mandated from state departments of education. We're seeing it in the community colleges being more of an emphasis in creating courses that will meet the demand for this next generation of IT and computer science individuals. So the question is, how do we get students engaged? how do we make sure that they're fully understanding what's coming at them, and to make sure that their experience in computer science and information technology as we approach some of these concepts is a positive one. So I've listed out 5 things that I'm going to review today and talk about as we go through here. First of all, I'm going to say that the most important thing is find out what your student is interested in. So let's make sure we understand what they want to do. For example, my son took 2 years of computer science classes in high school, and he wasn't interested in any of it. And that's okay. What we're going to see is you can't force some of these concepts on students and say just because there's a job and a high-paying job that the student's going to be interested. Let's make sure the students are engaged in something they enjoy. Then we're also, those students that are interested in these topics, let's make sure they understand what those educational and certification pathways look like for them as they move forward. So they have a clear understanding of what it is that they need to accomplish as they go through their certification and educational goals. The third step I'm going to talk about is allowing the students to understand the job potentials. It doesn't matter whether it's an IT or computer science field, there's jobs out there. Not only are there jobs, there's high-paying jobs. Also, we're going to talk a little bit about engaging students with the help of your industry partners. If you have industry partners there at your school, that's great, and we are all for industry partners there. Let me ask one more question before we jump in here, and I just kind of want to get a feel for the audience here. We've got close to 100 participants here. What group are we mainly looking at? And while you're answering that question, I'm going to say this IT Fundamentals course and the concepts that we're going to teach and cover here, what we found is there's a demand for this everywhere. It doesn't matter if it's high school, if it's middle school, if it's post-secondary, as we look at 2- and 4-year institutions. There's a demand for these fundamental principles being taught throughout the various segments of education. And so here we're seeing a pretty good response coming in. And so give it one more second here, and then I'll share the results here. But what we found is we were evaluating the course and trying to figure out if this was a road TestOut wanted to go down, was that there was a broad interest from every segment for these courses to be taught. So let me share this. So as you can see here, high school and 2-year career colleges, post-secondary, are actually leading out the way. And one thing I'll say about that is we're seeing that student base. A lot of people come back. They want to come back and extend their education, and they're first timers. So this would be a great starting point for them. All right, let's move on. So let me hide the poll here and move on to the next slide. So how do we create interest in IT and computer science? So step one, well, as I mentioned earlier, you got to find out what the student's interested in. We're going to list out 6 areas where we're going to cover and talk about some of the high-level topics that you'll see throughout this course. So we're going to cover information technology, networking, applications and software, programming, database, and security. Now, all of these will be approached on a high-level topic. We're not going to go into in-depth programming concepts here. We're not going to go into teaching students how to hack. If they want to do that, let's have them continue down their educational pathway and eventually get to our new ethical hacking course. But what we are going to do is introduce these concepts at a high level, so no matter what a student does, they're going to be able to get a feel for what these different aspects of IT and computer science are all about. So let's say we do have a student that's interested. What's the next step? Well, let's find out what that pathway looks like. I'm running this slide here. This is going to walk through different certification pathways as we look. We have the TestOut certifications. We're going to start here with our IT Fundamentals course. If a student enjoys that and they want to go down a security pathway, we have steps and courses and certifications to help them progress through this particular pathway. Now, as you look also CompTIA, they've been around forever. They also have a certification pathway. So it's important students understand, hey, here's some goals and some checkpoints I should set for myself. So when we talk about student engagement, I think a key part of that is helping a student understand, hey, here's something that I need to do. Here's what's going to be expected of me, and here's where I can check off boxes as I go through the course and go through my educational pursuits. Okay, next, once they understand, hey, here's what I want to do. I picked a network administrator. Let's talk about jobs. What do those jobs look like? So I pulled up a network administrator, and I think it's important students understand what those job roles are. If they're going to invest their time, their money, their resources into this as a career, let's make sure those students understand what these particular job roles look like. And also salaries. Salaries are available. I'll talk about that in just a second. A great resource to where you can find some of that information. And then educational requirements. If I'm going to become a network administrator, what kind of education do I need? The resource here I found would recommend a bachelor's degree still, but then also as we look at certifications, we look at Cisco CCNA, CompTIA's Network Plus as some of the preferred certifications. And TestOut will help train for those. So as we see, and one thing I like to point out and to have a class activity to do is just have students research some of these different certifications and job titles. Have them present to their classmates what it is that they would be looking at and doing. And then employment growth. One of the key nice things about when we look at these IT and CS fields is that we'll have positive, real positive growth in all of these areas. All right, show me the money. At the end of the day, students want to be able to make a living. They want to make some money in some of these fields. The goal is to have them career ready, college ready, and for the high school students, and then when they move into the post-secondary, they're job ready. I'm listing out assertmag.com. If you follow this link, and don't worry about copying it down, we're going to send a recorded version of this webinar out as well. But if you go to CertMag, every year they pull up the top 75 certifications in the IT field. And what they'll do is they'll give you a resource here where you can understand what those salaries look like, not only for the United States, but worldwide. It's a great resource to help students see different certifications as they look and try to investigate some of these pathways that they may want to go down. Help them understand the job roles, help them understand the money that they can make. All right, I'm going to move on to my ships slide here. So I'm going to talk about 3 ships. First, partnerships, internships and apprenticeships, and mentorships. So, partnerships. Let's talk about those first. Let me hit the button there. These partnerships are not just for high school programs. I think it's very important that post-secondary programs have partnerships with industry and industry as well as the secondary schools. And I put here, giving students access to real-world situations, ideas, and problems helps classroom experience become real. If they can see and have a partnership where you're bringing people from industry into your classroom, talking about what's important, I think that's huge to help students see what kind of real-world scenarios are faced on a day-to-day basis. Let's see. Moving on. I want to talk about some of these partnerships. So this was actually a partnership I just recently read about. Now this was a middle school, and like I said, every segment needs a good partnership with industry. This particular company is called Raine Focus. They're based out of just south of the Salt Lake City area, and they're in charge. What they do is large event marketing platforms. So if you've gone to some of these trade show conferences where there's thousands of people, Raine Focus is helping generate all the marketing and the platforms to keep track of all attendees. So one thing that they found is that there's a lack of qualified candidates to help them in some of their programming aspects. So they said, well, let's put on a session here. What we're going to do is we're going to invite some students over to our campus. We're going to have some of our employees spend the day with them and teach them about what we actually do. Now, hopefully you can get the idea here. This is, like I said, a middle school. Now, this could be still in a high school setting. This could be in a 2-year and 4-year setting where you can invite a partner into your campus and show them show the students what they do. Employers are willing, if they understand, that these are their potential new employees. So Raine Focus recognized that there was a need to help students understand more coding, and especially girls. So they specifically sought out and said, hey, let's invite a bunch of your daughters, your sisters, whoever it is. Let's do a day where we can bring them in and we can teach them and show them what we do and show them what their potential is. Having that industry partnership is important. All right, let's talk internships and apprenticeships. I got a poll question here. Let me see if I can find it. The question is, do you have an internship and apprenticeship program within your school and state? So let me go ahead and launch this. And we'll give it a few minutes here. Internships and apprenticeships. Every conference I go to is a large hot button topic. If you haven't had a push to create an internship or an apprenticeship program, it's coming, trust me. Every state that I go to and every conference I go to, we're seeing this being pushed and implemented. All right, finish up here. Looks like we got some pretty good responses. And it looks like about 60% of you, let me share their responses here. So about 60% of you said, yes, you do have an internship and apprenticeship program. This is key to students' engagement. Having students be a part of real-world situations and being able to put them in, whether it's a paid or non-paid internship program, this is an important aspect of their learning. All right, let me jump back to my slide here. 2 resources I'm going to point out to you. CareerTech.org, there's a group called Advanced CTE. If you haven't ever been to their website, it's full of valuable information. You can understand a little bit better for what your state has going as far as internship and apprenticeship programs. So Advanced CTE, and their website is careertech.org. Also, if you just go to the U.S. Department of Labor and search for internship and apprenticeship programs, you'll see a lot of great resources there. One thing I'm going to point out here, this graphic on the right shows a little bit of what South Carolina is doing. What we're seeing as a trend is states and state labor boards being involved in the educational environment as they promote and try to create these apprenticeship programs to help facilitate the next generation of workers and employees. So if you don't have an internship or apprenticeship program, look into one. It's key, just like an industry partnership is. Gives the students the real world experience. It gets them in there and makes sure that, hey, what I'm learning in the classroom environment has relevancy. All right, moving on, mentoring, mentorships. I got to throw the ship part in there so you remember. So I'm going to ask a poll question in here. Do you have, let's see, do you have a mentor who helped you get where you are today? Now, I would imagine most of you are educators. My wife teaches in a secondary high school environment, and I can tell you that she has had several mentorships. One in particular, we were actually just talking to her. She's retired for about 5 or 6 years, but her influence on my wife and in her career path has been great. All right, let me close this up and we'll take a look at some of the results here. All right, 39% of you said that you had several mentors throughout your life, 31% didn't, and then 24% of you said yes. Okay, for all you that said no, that actually number's a little bit high to me. Mentors are key. I put this infographic up here for a myriad of reasons here. One, they can help set students' goals. They can give guidance and support. And at the end of the day, somebody within industry, or if you can help your student find somebody who can be a mentor in these computer science and information technology fields, it'll go a long way in helping them see their goals, their objectives, and really what can the possibilities of their educational and career pursuits can be. Let's transition here a little bit into talking about how IT Fundamentals Pro can give students real-world hands-on experience. So I want to transition. So once students have an experience, once they understand, I want to talk a little bit about TestOut's IT Fundamentals Pro and really any of TestOut's courseware. Our goal is to give the students the most hands-on experience, and what we're going to do here is we're going to share how our IT Fundamentals Pro course is set up, and I'm going to turn the time here to Paul and let him walk you through what that looks like. But just to give you a brief overview of the course, it is an overview of IT and computer science principles. There will be instructional videos to help support teacher discussion and to help students understand concepts. There will also be text fact sheets to review key concepts throughout the course. And most importantly, our lab sim environment is going to give the students the most up-to-date simulated environment and give them the real-life experience that they're going to see in industry. So we're going to simulate some of these things that as they learn these concepts, they can actually participate and have the hands-on skills that they need. So we're going to also assist students in being the most prepared for the most industry-demanded jobs and internships. One thing, as I mentioned earlier, my wife is a teacher. I'm always trying to look out for you guys. So I'm going to point out some of our teacher resources. I like to joke with teachers. They can send me a Christmas card at Christmas time because I'm giving them their nights and their weekends back throughout the year with the amount of resources and help that we have for them. These would include auto grading, lesson plans, PowerPoint slides, instructor training, LMS integration, amazing customer support. I can guarantee you will not sit on a helpline trying to figure something out. And then most importantly, for all of those that answered the earlier poll question, that certifications are a big challenge for you, and I want to make sure these students are passing certifications. We will have complete coverage for that new objectives from CompTIA for the U61 objectives. As I mentioned, so if you're teaching towards those new old objectives, you're going to be missing about 23% of the exam material, because we've had it added in the programming and database sections to those courses. All right, let me turn the time over to Paul Miller. He's going to walk us through a section of the video, and I'll turn the time over to you, Paul.
All right, thanks, Travis. I think you set the stage really well for this demo of the TestOut IT Fundamentals Pro course. First of all, while Travis is getting that up, I wanted to mention that we do not assume that students come to this course with any level of IT knowledge. Many of the students will still have knowledge gaps, and in fact that's one of the barriers for some students. They may be a little embarrassed that they don't know more about computers, that maybe they learned some of these things back in the 7th grade, but they never really learned the language of IT. And so our course will get students up to speed, and they can gain the confidence. They will gain the confidence that they need to be able to move forward on an IT or computer science career pathway. Okay, so this is the very beginning of the course. Typical section. Travis has already mentioned our video instruction and our text summaries that help students to reinforce the concepts they're learning. And then one of the hallmarks of a TestOut course, our training. And I pre-recorded a little bit of a demo here. So this gives you a layout of one of our sections with the video and the text. And then some hands-on labs, and then at the very end we'll have a concept quiz to assess that you can use to assess your students' learning of these concepts. And just look at a few other sections, how computers work. Again, very basic concepts, but many of the students, they just they don't have the confidence to move on because they don't know some of these basics. So computer hardware, software, file management, application software, and then I want to jump into the second chapter on networking. We're going to look briefly at a video on the web and other internet technologies. This will give you a chance to see one of our video instructors. Our video instructors are great. We have the audio off here, but they're great at motivating students to, why should I care about these concepts? And then they'll lead them through a demo and some discussion that they can keep coming back and looking at. You can see some of the tools that the students can use in our videos. They can expand the video out to full screen and then go back to the interactive script and follow along. I'm just going to go through some of this content quickly. You can move ahead. The students can jump ahead to different topics. But here they're going to learn about, what is the World Wide Web and what's the internet. They're very basic, but they're not the same thing. They're certainly interrelated. And then we'll learn about other internet technologies such as Wi-Fi, voice over IP. We'll learn about the Internet of Things, email, and so on. So let's just move through the rest of this video quickly, and we'll jump to the end and wrap it up with the overview at the end. So let's finish this video up and move on to just take a quick look at some of the text materials where students can now make sure that they know all of these concepts, review them, things that they'll be quizzed on at the very end of the section. But what I also wanted to show you is just a quick peek at one of our labs. This, I think, is the easiest, the simplest lab that we have in the course, but we wanted to reinforce the concept of cloud storage, and in particular, OneDrive. So we just asked the students to copy a file from their desktop system to OneDrive. So we'll bring up a file manager here. Copy the file, open up the documents folder on OneDrive, and paste that in, and wait for it to synchronize, and then we'll score the lab. So this is a very simple lab, but it shows you the hands-on experience that we try to give students to reinforce. It's a very concept-based course, but the students need to have that hands-on experience. But I'd also like to show you another lab. This is a hardware lab where we a simulated hardware environment. We're going to ask the students to connect a monitor to their desktop system. So let's wait for that to come up. And you can see the tasks there. The students will learn how to use this hardware simulator. We'll drag the monitor over to the workspace. And then we'll go to the back of the monitor, the back of the computer, select the HDMI cable, and drag it over to the appropriate port. Connect the other end, back of the computer, and then we have it connected. Now we will also connect the power cable to the back of the monitor and plug it into the power strip. And finally, we will turn the monitor and the computer on. And you'll see how we integrate the operating system simulator with our hardware simulator here. And the students now are pretty much done with this lab. They could go ahead and score it, but if they'd like, they can actually explore the operating system. They can bring up File Manager. If they would like to explore the file system in this simulated environment, or they can open up the Settings app here on Windows 10 and explore some of the options there. So this just shows you how open the TestOut simulators are, and what we're known for, what we've been known for a long time, is the high quality nature of our simulations that give students that hands-on experience. And then look back here at some of their other topics in databases and programming. I won't demonstrate any of the content there. Information systems and security. And then finally here at the end we have some practice exams to help the students make sure that they're prepared for the CompTIA IT Fundamentals exam, that we have all of those materials packaged together within this course. And we're anxious for you to have an opportunity to look at the course more closely, and in the coming weeks, very soon, we will make this available for you to explore and see how it matches up with your own curriculum. So that's my demonstration. I'll turn the time back over to Travis.
All right, thanks, Paul. Appreciate Paul's input. He's put a lot of hard work into to what we're seeing as we've created this course. So let's jump back and finish up our presentation. So let's go ahead and answer some questions that we might have.
First question we have is, how do I get access to the course?
Great question. Um, so we'll have a pre-release sometime in the first part of July. You should see a pre-release. So anybody that's registered for um, this particular course, they'll be able to get access probably right around the first week in July. The release date is set for July 30th, so we'll have plenty of time where we can implement it uh, and get it ready for fall adoption. All right. Next question. That's a great question. When can you get it? So just to reiterate, everybody that's on this registration will get a follow-up email and allow them pre-release preview access, so you can get in here and take a little bit more in-depth view of the course.
All right. The next question would be, how does this different from the prior, if it were preparing for the prior version of CompTIA IT Fundamentals?
Great question. You want me to answer this one? I'd love to answer this one. So what we're going to see with the prior version of the CompTIA IT Fundamentals exam left out the programming. Well, didn't necessarily leave out, because the U61 version that we're going to see adopted, where schools are going to be forced to move to now, we're adding databases and programming, which will basically 23% of the exam will cover those two subjects. And so if you're taking the old objectives and only training to those objectives, you're going to be missing almost a quarter of the content on the new exam. I believe the old exam will be retired. Is it July? It's maybe right here at the end of June. It's coming up on us. So I believe CompTIA made a pretty good effort to continue that old exam through this school year. And what we're going to see is that retirement, and then the new objectives that you'll be missing really almost 25% of the content if you don't make some adoption to teaching to the new concepts.
Okay, and then this one would probably be for Paul. We've got a couple questions about course time or course requirements, how it would fit.
So we do cover obviously all of the CompTIA objectives in this course. And if you compare, those of you who are familiar with other TestOut courses, this is a leaner course. It's focused. We do go beyond the CompTIA objectives in several areas, especially information systems and some other areas. But we really do focus as much as we can on those objectives, and we don't expand out a lot more. So it won't be as large of a course in terms of the amount of content as, let's say, a PC Pro or a Network Pro, some of our other courses, but it's still significant content that you can integrate into your curriculum. And as we get more feedback from instructors as we release this course, we're planning to prepare more supplementary materials that could be used by high school instructors, community college instructors, along with our course. So I don't know if I answered that well enough.
And part of that was also, what ages and grades is the course designed for?
I'll go ahead and answer that one. So what we're seeing is kind of a nice fit in the high school realm up into the 2- and 4-year segments. Probably predominantly it'll be used in the high school in kind of that 2-year segments. It is a possibility if you do have a middle school program with some advanced students, they may be able to take this on as well. As I mentioned earlier, this has a fit for everyone, though. I was talking with a school, a technical college in the Tampa area, and we were talking about who would need this. And he told me, Travis, I'm going to need this for all ages, because we have a lot of people that are coming back that want to leave their current jobs, and they want to come back and get trained. So they need to start somewhere, and this will be a perfect fit for those. So I think we'll see it kind of broadly used, but generally internally we're mainly saying kind of the sweet spot is that high school to 2-year realm as we look at who predominantly will be the users.
Great, thank you. A couple other questions I can answer. This is Adam Keys. I'm the product manager for the course. There's one question: if certification will be included with this course when it is released. This course we're building on an accelerated time frame, so it will release without a TestOut Pro certification attached, but it is fully our intention to add in a certification to this course at a later date. And another question is, do students need to use on-site computers, or can they access the course from their home devices? And this is a great thing about all TestOut courses, is they are browser-based, so they work on all major internet browsers from any computer that has internet access.
Let me follow up also with about the certification. If you're in a high school or a secondary segment and have a state funding list that industry certifications are tied to, and you would like to see us start to work on getting those this new exam that will be coming on those lists, please reach out to either myself or Aubrey Barnett or your account manager. Let us help you get start the process. Sometimes it's a multi-year process to get these on those industry certification lists. So we're happy to help. We will have a certification exam, and it's coming. It'll be another great resource to basically validate students' abilities and skill set.
And then a couple questions on pricing. Pricing at this point, it's still in development, so we just encourage you at this point to reach out to your sales representative at TestOut so that we can get you that information as it becomes available for you. It looks like we've slowed down on the questions.
Slow down on the questions. All right. Well, I appreciate your time today in joining us. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us at TestOut. We're happy to help, especially if you're in a state where maybe, especially in the high school segments, this is going to be important to a lot of your states where the IT Fundamentals Certification Exam is currently a state-mandated exam where a lot of students are being required to take this as part of their entry to IT pathways. So please reach out to us. We're happy to help with any questions. We want to be able to give you the best information we can of how and where this will fit in your particular school and learning environment. As we get a little bit further in development, as we mentioned earlier, we will be releasing pre-release access. If you'd like a copy of the outline so you can see what subjects are going to be available, you can go to the website, testout.com, and under the product list, if you go to IT Fundamentals, you'll see an outline that you can view currently. Also, I'm going to put a couple plug in. If you would like to learn more about how TestOut is being used throughout the nation in various post-secondary and secondary environments, would love to see you out in Salt Lake City this summer. Come out to our conference. And also included, there should be a downloadable handout, just a digital brochure you can download currently through the GoToWebinar interface. That'll give you a little bit more information as well. If this is something you want to take to an administrator or to share with a colleague, you can feel free to download that. All right. I appreciate your time today, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We will send out a survey. Please follow up with it. And then, as mentioned, all registrants will reach out to you as well as soon as we have pre-release and get you set up with access. Thanks again for joining us. Feel free to reach out with any questions, and have a wonderful day.